Hey friends, it's Catherine here from Sacred Heart Alchemy and Divinely Inspired Feminine Leaders. I was inspired to go on today because of so much feedback that I've been getting, both within my own body and experience, from clients that I talk to every day, as well as from primarily women that I interact with, whether it's in coaching groups or sort of mastermind groups or just places, online gatherings where I have an opportunity to be in the presence of other people and be listening to their experience. And the other thing is, I posted something a couple of days ago about 6 planets being in retrograde. And I sort of did it, kind of jokingly, but what I noticed was that quite a few people responded that they were really feeling this energy. And while I am not an astrologer and I don't know all that much about planets being in retrograde, or even some of the other things that I'm going to talk about in these few minutes with you, I know enough to share with you and sort of create a container, perhaps, where you can place your own personal experience that gives it some structure, that sets it within some boundaries that maybe help make sense of it, make you perhaps feel a little more comforted that you are not alone in this, that you are not losing your mind, going crazy. Or maybe you are, but there's good reason. And I called this What's Up on Planet Earth, sort of in reverence and respect to a woman by the name of Karen Bishop, who used to write a column called What's Up on Planet Earth, and also wrote a book many years ago about finding your soul purpose. And she was one of the first people who I read, whose work, whatever she came out with, always confirmed for me what was going on in my life. And I would say, oh, thank God. It's not just me. This is a thing. There are other people experiencing this. And I don't know what's happened to Karen Bishop. I mean, honestly, that was like in the late 90s. So it was quite a while ago. But I was always so grateful for the people whose insights I was able to find and tap into that many years ago. They were really the early light workers, right? The early wave maybe of indigos who came in even before the influx in the 80s. And they were laying the groundwork. And whether I was reading a book, or maybe it came through in a reading with someone, or as in her case, her blog and then her book, or I was so taken. I was so kind of amazed and blown away that different people from completely different walks of life, from different areas of study, were basically saying the same thing, just in different language. And that same thing was that we were entering a period of intense and immense change. It was coming, right, in the future. And we're in the future now. We are the future. And it was a time when all of the systems, right, whether they were our economic system, our educational system, our medical system, our family systems, religious systems, were all going to start to break apart and crumble, because they were mostly built on foundations that were not in the greatest interest of everyone. Maybe they were built out of greed or power over, or, you know, what I might term as patriarchal energy that suppressed the feminine, and, you know, all of these religious and familial rules came down from that patriarchy and is now in our ancestral DNA and is still impacting us. You know, every one of us, whether we are in a male or female body, is still impacted by the patriarchy. And part of our work is to challenge that within ourselves. That's a whole nother topic. But so I wanted to get on tonight and just share some insights, some information, you know, in the way that Karen Bishop did, in the hopes that it might support you in taking a deep breath, right? And sort of being able to relax into the knowing that there is something much larger than you going on. And that is not at all to minimize or diminish your own personal experience, but just to say that you are experiencing whatever it is that you are personally experiencing because we are going through this, what I call an ascension process, an adjustment, a raising of our vibrational frequency, and period of enlightenment, the age of Aquarius, right? Whatever, we can give it a lot of different names, but it is this period of time when the old systems are falling away, but new systems have not yet come into being in a way that feels solid and foundational and grounded. And so we can all be feeling like the earth is literally moving beneath our feet, because it is. A former teacher of mine, who's still teaching actually, his name is Jim Self, and it's funny, he wrote a book called Spirit Matters, which was the name of my center, and he actually came once many years ago to teach at Spirit Matters. But he would say, probably is still saying, that we're in this period that's like going through the eye of a needle, right? That we are literally becoming so refined so as to allow our energy to move through something as small as the eye of a needle. And in order to do that, we literally have to leave our old baggage, our old suitcases. Anything dense, heavy, has to be left behind in order for us to move through. We could call it a portal, we could call it the eye of a needle. He also used to say, don't worry about losing your mind. It's just like being in the spin cycle of a washing machine. And everything that is not essential, that is not essentially you, that is not your authentic divine nature, is being spun off. So that's all that is going to be left, is the truth of yourself as a divine spiritual being of light and love. So I'll say this, you don't have to know it. You can listen and you can take what fits for you. You can say, wow, that just doesn't sound right to me, or that doesn't fit my current belief system. So I'm not saying, you know, that you have to take point blank whatever I'm saying, because, you know, obviously everybody has free will and everybody has the right to believe what they want to believe. I'm just going to put out some information, and you can take it in, you know, play with it in your own mind, do your own research, thinking, reading, talking, conversing about this, and see where you land with some of this. What I'm going to do first, because I know I spoke about this retrograde, is just share very quickly, and I even wrote some notes to myself, because again, I am not an astrologer. I do not know this information in depth, but this is what I can tell you. So when a planet is considered to be in retrograde, It really is just an appearance of where it is in its own orbit in relation to the Earth. I'm actually gonna, I'm gonna read from this, my computer's behind me. The term retrograde refers to the illusion created by planets in their retrograde period, during which the planet's orbit around the sun makes it appear to be slowing down and moving backward. In astrology, retrogrades are essentially periods during which your life might slow down significantly, prompting you to revisit certain themes or struggles, depending on which planet is in retrograde and what that planet governs in astrology. And, most of us are familiar with Mercury in retrograde, and I think we're most familiar with that, well, for two reasons. One, because it happens 4 times a year. It's sort of short, it's 3 weeks, and it happens about 4 times a year. And it influences communication and logic, right? So this is, when we're in our mind doing our day-to-day life, there's a lot of communication and logical thinking going on. So when Mercury moves into retrograde and it's not moving forward or operating at its fullest potential, you might experience some mishaps in communication and logic. And this is why things like don't sign contracts, it's not a great time to plan a vacation or to, fly, make transportation arrangements. And so it can feel like there are setbacks, or, technology is breaking down on you, or all of that. So I think Mercury in retrograde is the one that we're most familiar with. It actually happens to be the one that's in retrograde for the shortest period of time. Might have to do with how close it is to the sun. I'm not sure. But what I want to share is the other planets that are in retrograde right now, because there are 6, and they're in retrograde for different periods of time. So I'm going to just start with, of the 6, the order that they went into retrograde. So the first planet that went into retrograde recently was in April, and that was Pluto. And it will stay in retrograde until the 8th of October. Pluto is all about death, birth, transformation. So in this time of slowing down, then it's the universe almost offering us the opportunity to address these issues of birth, death, and transformation. What needs to be released? What toxic energies? What negative thinking? What negative belief systems, programs, self-destructive behavior, or beliefs need to die off? What dense egoic energies, thought patterns, programming want to be released at this time so that we can go through this transformation and experience rebirth? So it's not all hellfire and damnation. It's death of things that are no longer serving you, so that your personal vibration, your personal frequency can raise along with the planets as we go through this ascension process. So that's Pluto. The second planet of the 6 that went into retrograde was Saturn, and that was June 4th. And it'll come out of retrograde on October 23rd. And this is all, Saturn's energy is around personal growth and restructuring. So again, there's a theme here: personal growth, looking at what in me is old, is no longer serving me. Where am I looking? Where is my soul calling me to grow, right? Where do I feel a pull, a calling, an urgency to begin to step into something different? How do I restructure the things in my life, whether they're my own beliefs, whether it's my job, my relationship with money and finances, the place that I live, right? Do I need to look at some restructuring in my life? And that's, what'll come up during this Saturn in retrograde period. Next is Neptune. It went into retrograde also in June 28th, and it'll go through December 4th. Neptune is all about reflection, revision, creativity, and dreams. Are you seeing a pattern here? Are you wondering why so much stuff is coming up? Reflection, revising, dreaming, and creativity. Not that different from personal growth and restructure or death, birth, and transformation, right? So many of the same sort of big patterns are being addressed with each of these planetary retrogrades. Fourth was Jupiter, went into retrograde on July 28th. It'll be complete November 23rd. And guess what? It's about self-reflection and looking at the big picture. So how does that fit with death, birth, and transformation, reflection, revision, dreams, personal growth and restructuring? Now we have self-reflection and looking at the bigger picture. All of these planets in retrograde right now. Next, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Uranus, August 24th through January 23rd of next year. This energy is about shaking things up, rebellious energy, right? Calling things out. Certainly, we are seeing plenty of this on the planet at this time, and we have been for a while, but it's all really ramping up, right? None of this is new energy. This has all been going on for, well, as long as I've been sort of engaged, maybe 25 years or so, maybe since the convergence in 1985, but it's been systematically ramping up till we find ourselves here in this place today. The last of these 6 planets is Mercury, which came into retrograde September 10th and will go out October 2nd. Remember, Mercury, I'm going to just pull up my little cheat sheet back here. Mercury is a 3-week window, but 4 times a year. And we already talked about technology, communication, travel, being the things that get maybe shaken up with when Mercury is in retrograde. So again, I don't claim to be an expert in all of this. I'm fascinated with it all. This is how I'm wired. These kinds of things call my attention and I want to know more about them and I want to share so that other people get to know about them and can have a better sense of what's going on. Understanding that if things are getting stirred up in your own life, there's generally cosmic astrological support for that. Even the fact of where the Earth is in our own trip around the sun. We are in this phase or this, I don't know what to call it. I keep going like this. This area of photon light energy in the universe that we moved into and are now moving through. This is the age of Aquarius, more light, right? More pressure, more pushing things to the surface that have been unresolved, that have not been complete, that still have some heavy, dense residual energy, that are not in unity consciousness. This is all being pushed to the surface during this period of time. The last thing I'm going to say about this in particular is a small note about the Schumann resonance, which I learned about years ago, I think through my Magdalene circle. I'm not actually sure if that's true. If it is, I have Gloria Amendola to thank for that. But the Schumann resonance is sort of measurement of these pulses around the Earth, between the Earth and the ionosphere. And Schumann was the scientist who discovered it. And basically, it measured the heartbeat of the Earth at 7.83 hertz, right? So somewhere between 7 and 8 hertz. And that measurement stayed the same for many, 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 many years. And then all of a sudden it started changing. And we know now, and so when the Schumann resonance is pulsing at 7.8 hertz, it's in harmony. It's kind of like that alpha, theta, relaxed, almost hypnotic brainwave state, right? When things are calmer and more settled. But the more we introduce superficial wavelengths like radio frequency, electronics, cell towers, TV, radio, power supplies, appliances, computers, right? All the technology, we are increasing. Some of those have hertz from 30,000 up to 300 billion hertz. And this is disrupting the frequency that is normal to the heartbeat of the Earth. So as we try to adjust to all of these different frequencies, we can feel disoriented, we can feel unbalanced, we can feel confused. And a lot of that has to, again, do with energy and the frequencies that are flying around us and disrupting this, heartbeat of the Earth frequency. I would really recommend, as much as you can, and this is why, grounding or earthing, I think, has become more into the conversation in the last probably 15 years. But again, each year we hear more about get out into nature, go hug a tree, take off your shoes and put your feet on the earth. Did I see Joan Longo up there? Get near the ocean, right? Feel those negative ions, just feel the experience of that energy. The more you can do to balance your energy in relationship to all of the energies that are flying around, the more aligned, the more settled, the more grounded, the more tapped in, the more sourced you're going to feel. So I think I want to just wrap up by saying that you may be experiencing this as minor disruptions in your life, your technology, or, you had a problem with your, internet company, or you made travel plans and they fell through. But you might also be experiencing much more intense endings, closings, finishings, things coming up again, perhaps that you thought you had completed years ago. I've had clients say, oh my God, my mother, who I haven't talked to in 10 years, just called today and said she's moving back to Connecticut from Texas or something, or, just sort of, I know for myself, I just experienced the ending of a relationship that it was really the first one in 15 years since my marriage that felt like it had the potential to really, develop into something. And 9 months to the day that it started, it abruptly ended. And I thought, well, that's interesting, because I like to look at patterns, and I talk about rebirth, and I talk about what wants to be birthed through you, and what are you pregnant with. And so I thought, well, that's really interesting. I wonder what each of us was sort of gestating during those 9 months that we may see some evidence of, right, in the coming months or years. But the other interesting piece of it was that it was 15 years to the day that I drove out of the home that I had lived in, and the marriage that I had been in, and the kids and the dogs and everything else. It had been 15 years that day. And so, I went through some stuff with all of that coming up again, to be mourned and grieved and, looked at, and what could I have done anything differently in either of those cases, and so, I won't go into so much of my personal stuff, except to say that we're all experiencing, I'm calling it, with clients, I kind of laugh and I say, well, that's the universe telling you need to go clean up aisle 5, right? There's something a little sticky, or something got spilled on the floor over there, or something that we thought we cleaned up was not quite cleaned up. So whether it's an old relationship issue, whether it's an issue of betrayal, whether it's a money pattern that keeps coming up, whether it's feelings still of not being good enough, of being too much or not enough, a lot of stuff coming up around the healing of the divine feminine, which of course is something that's of particular fascination, interest, concern, devotion for me. And I know, like last March, I announced that I was going to sort of step away from Facebook and social media because I was really burned out and was having a hard time really just doing the work that I needed to do every day. I could not put anything else on my plate. And I said I was going to take, a month off. Well, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, September. So 6.5 months later, and I'm still not back. I am still in my own personal deep dive of what the universe is calling me into now. And I would not go so far as to call it a dark night of the soul, because I went through one of those 15 years ago when I left my marriage and my job and all of that. This feels more like doing some cleanup in aisle 5, having things come up for review, for reevaluation, for recommitment, for realignment, all the R words, all the retrograde words, and also assimilation and integration of all the work I've been doing all of these years. Until I feel inspired to bring something new into the world. I really do feel like I am, sort of in a birthing process. And maybe some of you can feel that same way, like you feel something's up, something's going on, something's changing. I'm not exactly sure what it is. As we say, no longer this, but not yet that, right? We're sort of in this, maybe we're in that eye of the needle, or that portal, or that passageway, or that birth canal. And we're not sure what we're going to bring forth into the world on the other side. But what I will leave you with, I hope, is a message of hope, knowing that you are exactly where you are supposed to be in this moment in time, that there is nothing happening now that is not ultimately in your highest good, even though it doesn't always feel like that. Things come, whoop, I got to face this now. This is coming up again. I thought I dealt with that. But just know that this is the refinement. This is letting go of everything, 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 that it does not hold the vibrational frequency of the truth of you as a divine spiritual being who chose to come in to this human form to have this earthly experience, and then through all you've been through, to remember the truth of who you are, and to recognize, and again, not to diminish your experience in any way whatsoever, but it was almost like a play that you auditioned for the part for and played it out. And now the curtain is closing and you're getting to take off the makeup. You're getting to take off the costume and come back to your true authentic self as a divine being of light and love, made in the image and likeness of creation. Light, birthing, creative energy. That feels like a good place to just bring this little container to a close. I'm so grateful for you all to be here. I can see a few names on my screen. I don't know who else is here, but forever, whoever is here now or who may listen afterwards, many, many, many blessings. Please know that this is all in divine order. And if there is any way that I can support you on your journey in identifying what's going on, releasing what's going on, creating a vision for where your entire journey might be leading you, please don't hesitate to reach out. It would be my greatest honor to have a conversation with you and witness your journey and maybe walk part of that journey with you. All right, my dears, that looks good. That was about a half hour. I always think I'm going to get on for 5 or 10 minutes, and I really should know myself better than that by now. But anyway, I trust that you'll find some piece of this helpful and relatable and translatable into your own life. Much love and light. Namaste.